Hey, y'all, and welcome to our small town life. My name is Tiffany. Happy to have you here today. I'm going to be sharing a day in the life of a homemaker. Before we get into the day, I'm showing you a couple of clips from yesterday, and you saw this in yesterday's vlog. I told you I'd follow up with you on it. We did the chicken pumpkin carving activity, and I told you I'd update you on how the chickens did. This is our pumpkin. Few hours after I put it in there with them late that afternoon. They had made it through the mouth and were working on the eyes and nose, and this was it. The next morning they had a pumpkin cave, and within a few hours the pumpkin was completely gone. They enjoyed it. I told y'all I'd update you on that, so I wanted to be sure to do it. Now getting into this day in the life of a homemaker, I'm going to take you through the day. I just set the camera up and captured different things I was doing throughout the day, and I'm going to share that with you in this video. I'll fill you in on some of the things I'm doing as I go along. I also wanted to take the opportunity to give you a little bit more of my story and my background. I did a video a couple of weeks ago now, and I'll link it in case you missed it, but it was just sharing with you about some of my earliest days as a wife, a mother, a homemaker. And if you've not watched that video, I would encourage you to go watch it and then come back to this one. But I'm going to give you a little bit more information, a little bit more of my story. And the whole reason why I'm doing this and why I'm sharing is because I want to meet you wherever you're at. I know that everyone's days do not look like mine do right now. My days have not always looked like they do right now. And I know that as I go through different seasons of life, it will continue to change for me, just like it does for you. And I want to share bits and pieces of my story and what life has looked like for me over the years in hopes of meeting you wherever you are and encouraging you wherever you are in your journey as a homemaker. And yes, that is Wyatt's bed in our bedroom. We've been trying to transition him into the room with the boys just gently, and sometimes he still ends up in our room, and so he has a bed in our room too. Right now we're just trying to get some sleep around here. On this day I knew that I needed to wash the sheets and pillowcases and blankets, at least of the two little kids, so that's what I'm doing, getting those ready to go in the washing machine. Now the piece of my story that I want to share with you today is still from pretty early on in mine and Justin's marriage. We've been married a few years, and I touched on this a little bit in that last video towards the end, but this was probably one of the most difficult time periods in my life, one of the most difficult seasons in my life. And as difficult as it was, something so beautiful came from it. And that's what I want to share with you. I want to share with you how God took what I had labeled as impossible and turned it into something possible. So to just kind of lay the background of some different things that were going on in my life during this time, Justin and I had just bought our first home together. Right before we bought our first home, we had experienced our first miscarriage. And then we had Audrey, and we moved into our first home. And after Audrey was born, Justin and we experienced 3 more losses, 3 more miscarriages before we welcomed Easton. And all of that happened within a matter of 2 years, from the first loss to Audrey being born to 3 more losses and then being pregnant with Easton. And during that time, we were in our new home. We were both still in college. I worked at a job about 45 minutes from home, and Justin, right after Easton was born, Justin found out that his job was going to take him out of town. So he was gone all week long and would only come home on the weekends. And there was just so much going on in our life at this time, from having a new home to seeing fertility specialists, to welcoming new babies, to job changes, to trying to balance careers, graduating, just so much going on all at one time. Justin and I have always had a good relationship. We don't fight or fuss much. We have had disagreements, but we've always had a good relationship. This period of time was the one time in our relationship where we felt strained, and our marriage was not as strong as it should have been or could have been. And it was one of those things where I was trying so hard to put my finger on one thing that we could change that would make everything better. If Justin wasn't working out of town, would things be better? If we were not in college, would things be better? If I didn't work so far from home, would things be better? Just trying to put our finger on one thing, and I could not figure out what it was. Looking back on it, we needed to prioritize God first, and then our marriage, and our children, and our family, and our home, and then our careers. And when I got to the point, and this is really what I want to share with you today, when I got to the point where I was begging God to make something happen, to fix what felt so broken, that is when we started to get things back in order. And y'all, it didn't come, his answer didn't come quite like I had thought. I remember thinking we had just graduated college just a few months prior to what I'm about to share with you. And I was in a job, I had managed to find a job closer to home. It was about 15 minutes from home. And so that helped a lot. Justin was still out of town. He worked out of town for years. And I was at this place where I was begging God to just make something happen. You know what we need. You want good for us. Please make something happen. And I was let go from my job. I remember feeling crushed and defeated and like, this is just another thing to add to the list. I remember leaving that day and calling Justin, what am I going to do? What are we going to, there was no way in my mind that I could not be working, and we had just graduated, and it felt crushing. And I started thinking about finding a new job, and it's like I felt this still small voice tell me, just slow down. And I did. And it worked. It worked. Something that I had labeled as impossible. There is no way I can be a stay-at-home mom. There's no way I can dedicate my time to being a homemaker. God said, yes, you can. He took something I labeled as impossible and He made it possible. If you're there, because I get those comments from time to time, oh, I wish I could do this, but there's no way I can. Y'all, I've been there. I know that feeling. I had this desire that God was stirring in me to be focused on, y'all, you can be a homemaker and work outside of the home. I was trying to do that, but not doing a very good job of it. But I had this desire stirring inside of me to be a dedicated homemaker, to be a stay-at-home mom, but I did not think it was possible. I didn't even really let myself think about it because I thought it was so impossible. But when I came to God completely broken and sincerely asking Him to make something happen, He made it happen. It wasn't like I thought it was going to be, but He had something beautiful in store for our family. Let me tell y'all what I'm doing here. I am washing the cake plate that I've been keeping on our counter. I have tried to be more intentional about not buying as many snack foods from the grocery store. I still buy some, y'all, but I've tried to be more intentional about not buying as many snack foods from the grocery store and making some homemade and keeping those treats on that cake plate in the kitchen. And so I was getting that washed up, and then I'm going to start making some homemade peanut butter cookies here in just a minute. Everybody wanted a snack, so popping some popcorn too that we can have as a snack. And then I'm going to make some homemade peanut butter cookies that I can keep on that cake plate on the counter as a treat for us. So y'all, what I wanted to share with you from my heart today, what I wanted to encourage you with from my heart today is that if you are going through something that feels defeating, if you're going through something that feels crushing, if you're going through something and you feel like there's just no good that can come from it, give it to God and let Him show you what He can do. I've been there. I have felt those feelings, and I have seen what God did with it when I laid it at His feet and I let Him take it and turn it into something beautiful. When things feel overwhelming, when you feel stretched thin, when you feel like the world is against you, it can be so easy to just want to give up. But instead of giving up, y'all, Justin and I, we could have given up on our marriage. We could have given up on the idea of family. We could have given up on a beautiful life so easily. Instead of giving up, give it to God. And know that answers may not always come in the form that you think. When I was on my knees begging God to fix our situation, losing my job was not what I had in mind. But He knew it would lead us into the life that He had planned for us. Hopefully, sharing this little piece of my story reaches out and touches the person that it needs to today. That's why I'm sharing with you. All right, peanut butter cookies, y'all. Peanut butter cookies. This is one of the simplest recipes. I remember making these with my mama when I was a kid. It was kind of her go-to. If we were wanting to make something, she usually always had what she needed for peanut butter cookies. A cup of peanut butter, a cup of sugar, and 1 egg. You can also put a little bit of vanilla extract in there if you want. Mix it all together. I put it in the refrigerator and let it chill for a few minutes just so it's easier to kind of roll in a ball. Roll that ball in some sugar and then press it down with a fork. Bake them at 375 for about 10 minutes. 8 to 10 minutes. You just have to kind of keep a look at them, know your oven, and pull them out, let them cool, and they're delicious. A quick, easy snack, and it's something that the kids can help with. My kids were busy on this day, and I just kind of knocked this out and got another treat on the counter for us, but this is one of those recipes that is really easy for the kids to get involved with, and my kids enjoy baking these cookies. There was Fletcher. He came to have a peek and see what was going on. I'm just going to let a little music play as I finish out these cookies and let you watch that process, and then I'll catch back up with you. I don't know what you may have going on in your life that feels impossible. I don't know what you may be walking through that feels like there's nothing good that can come from it. I just want to encourage you to not get too discouraged, to give it to God and let Him show you what He can do. Here in this clip, you can see me putting sheets back on beds right before bedtime, just in the nick of time. We had been to basketball games and things too, so just in the nick of time, we're getting beds ready for nighttime. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.